The Lynchburg City School Board will receive public comments regarding the school operating budget. A sign-up sheet was available, and we actually had 2 sign-up sheets, and I'll get to that in a minute. Persons appearing before the school board will not be allowed to campaign for public office, promote private business ventures, use profanity or vulgar language or gestures, use language which insults or demeans any person, or which, when directed at a public official or employee, is not related to his or her official duties, engage in behavior that disrupts the meeting or intimidates others, or address the school board on issues that do not concern the services, policies, or affairs of the school board. Individual speakers shall limit their comments to 3 minutes. A speaker representing a group shall limit his comments to 5 minutes. The representative shall identify the group at the beginning of his or her presentation, and a group may have no more than 1 spokesperson. And we did have a sign-up sheet out in the lobby for the public budget hearing, and I wanted to find out, since we do have others signed up for our regular meeting, if you wanted to speak in reference to the budget or in reference to another subject. So I've got Mr. or Mrs. Marshall. McKinley Marshall, are you here for budget or something else?
Doesn't matter.
Okay, thank you. Mary Payne, budget or another matter?
Something else. I thought I put it on your paper.
Okay. I just need to make sure. I just need to ask you publicly. Consuelo Mosley?
Another matter.
Okay. And Paul Key?
Another matter.
Okay, thank you. I will move you to the regular business meeting public comments. All right, so hearing, let's make sure, there's other pages here. Okay, we don't have anyone that has signed up to speak for the public budget hearing, so I will adjourn that. We will move on to our, I will call the regular meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, so we're going to begin with our public comments, and we have 30 minutes allotted for this. We have a number of speakers here, so we will hopefully try to get to everybody during that 30 minutes. And because this is a separate meeting, bear with me as I read the parameters of the public comment session. Persons appearing before the school board will not be allowed to campaign for public office, promote private business ventures, use profanity or vulgar languages or gestures, use language which insults or demeans any person, or which, when directed at a public official or employee, is not related to his or her official duties, engage in behavior that disrupts the meeting or intimidates others, or address the school board on issues that do not concern the services, policies, or affairs of the school board. Individual speakers shall limit their comments to 3 minutes. A speaker representing a group shall limit their comments to 5 minutes. The representative shall identify the group at the beginning of his or her presentation, and a group may have no more than 1 spokesperson. And we will begin this evening with Pat Price.
Good evening. I have worked with the Equity Task Force, previously known as the Key Communicators Advisory Committee, since its inception in 2000 under the leadership of then Superintendent James McCormick. I continue in this partnership during the tenure of Dr. Paul McKendrick and now with Dr. Scott Brabrand in an attempt to bridge the persistent educational, racial, and cultural divide between people of color and the majority population in this community and in our school system. Over this past weekend, I was made aware of an alleged incident that took place during a Brotherhood Month assembly at Dunbar Middle School. I came tonight to express my contempt with such an arrogant, intolerant display of bigotry from an LCS employee, a teacher, in of all places, Dunbar. That building is hallowed ground in the hearts of the members of the black community in the city. The fact that he interrupted the performance of an invited guest and encouraged others, both students and teachers, to leave the program is incomprehensible and not what one would expect from a professional. According to the Center for Public Education.org website, it is okay to have a gospel choir perform in our school system. Does he not understand the significance of gospel music to the African American community? Or was it because it was the Liberty University Gospel Ensemble? Or was it that his principal, a young African American woman who happens to be a student I personally recruited to Lynchburg College and mentored during her tenure there, approved the performance? This segues into my final point. The board is to be commended for appointing Ms. Ethel Reeves as the Director of Engagement, Equity, and Opportunity. However, without the appropriate staff to implement the professional development and educational strategies that could have eliminated the possibility of something like this even happening, you have given the problem of inequity in our schools nothing but lip service. I'm sickened at the thought that there are probably others in your employ that harbor these same feelings. The record speaks for itself in areas of fairness and equity when it comes to students in the African American community within the LCS system. Please know, members of the black community are well aware that the monster of intolerance, which has been stirred by the political shenanigans going on currently in our society, and if you're familiar with the movie, The Clash of the Titans, you'll remember the mythological titan, the Kraken, which was sent to destroy Argos. They have, these political people, released that mythological Kraken, so to speak, in the form of a whole bunch of trumpeteers, some who seem to be lurking within our city and our institutions. Do we need to go in search of Medusa to rid our school system of this monster?
I guarantee you I'm not running for any office. Madam Chair, Superintendent Brabant, other members of the Lynchburg City School Board, the staff, and our friends who gathered here this evening. I'm Carl Hutchison, Jr., and I'm representing Mr. Danny McCain and the Lynchburg Voters League, as well as myself, in coming this evening. It is our understanding that a serious incident took place last Friday at the historic Dunbar Middle School for Innovation. In celebration of African American History Month, a musical ministry from Liberty University was invited to Dunbar to present a program which was, in fact, presented to student body, faculty, and staff. It is also our understanding that during the presentation, a Dunbar faculty member went up to the stage, retrieved a microphone, and stated in so many words that to the people that in the audience that if they were offended by the presentation as he was, they could follow him to the gymnasium across the hall from the auditorium. It is our further understanding that there were persons, students, and other adults who followed this person out. I was sitting here thoughtfully reflecting on the words of our school board chair at the beginning of the session, which says you don't disrupt something that's going on as it reflects on the Lynchburg City Schools. We understand that if a person has a grievance, he or she has the right to leave themselves. It is also our belief that an aggrieved person does not have the right to disrupt a school-sponsored event in a way it was perpetuated. Our superintendent has done his best to promote the very best of the Lynchburg City Schools. He has gained the respect of our community at large, and this act by a teacher is a slap in the face to our superintendent, to the Dunbar principal, to other schools, faculty, staff, and students, the Liberty University students who participated, and to the community at large. In consultation with President McCain, we would ask that the Lynchburg City School Board summarily dismiss this person who has committed this grievous act. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Cheryl Glass.
Cabell, and you're correct. Hello, I'm Cheryl Glass. I am a private citizen. I'm also an advocate here in our community for folks with low or no voices. I did as I was told, submit my question and my concern in an email to Ms. Sullivan. My question was as this: what are the specific policies in place that determines the professional conduct of a Lynchburg City School employee, and particularly when it relates to addressing or honoring cultural differences in our communities. As a private citizen and advocate, we are saddened because it happened at a Brotherhood Assembly in February, the month officially designed as Black History Month. This is a month the Lynchburg community, not just Dunbar, but the Lynchburg community, prepares to recognize the heritage, accomplishments, and the cultures of African Americans. We encourage you, the board, to make respect mandatory. Hold all LCS employees accountable for their words and actions. And as harsh as it may sound to the board, the staff involved should be terminated based on their actions, and an apology from LCS should be sent to all the staff and students who were in attendance on that day at the Brotherhood Assembly. We feel this should be done in hopes of sending a message to the community that the Lynchburg community refuses to tolerate insensitive demonstrations in regards to race, religion, gender, disabilities, and nationalities. Thinking out loud, had a student reacted in a manner, what would have happened? What would have been a protocol? To date, we're not really sure what the employee was trying to prove, convey, or teach. Whatever it was offensive and insensitive. Help us ensure that this never happens again in any of our schools. Thank you.
Next speaker is Ronald B.B. Shavers.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, Dr. Braybain, School Superintendent. As I am too aware of this grievance act that just took place at Dunbar, as you say, the Hollow Dunbar. One of the things I think we need to teach at Dunbar personally is the history of Dunbar, where at one time 90% of the students graduated, where at one time out of the 80% of the 90 graduated went on to college. Dunbar is our city. For this type of actions to happen in Dunbar is unacceptable, uncalled for, and yes, we must have something done immediately. Furthermore, for anybody that even walked out along with that, because I look at it like this: if that was an African American student, male student, that got up and went in there and interrupted that class, would the resource officer would have been the one who took him out? Would have been any other concerned teachers would have been there to stop that? And just say it was about another 10 or so African American males, teenagers, that got up and walked up out of that classroom or up out of that auditorium. What you think would happen to those guys? What would be the reports then? What would their parents' conversations be like this Monday? Would they be in school? Would they be sent to an alternative school, Fort Hill, something like that? So how do we ensure again that this never happened? This is Lynchburg. This is Lynchburg 2016, not 1956. We must do something about this immediately. We must come together and work to ensure that this don't happen again. And more importantly, will somebody go to Dunbar and explain to those kids that it's not appropriately to get up and act in an inappropriate manner? That's not called for in our city. We understand that we're working hard to advance the ball. Ms. Ethel Coles has done a great job. Dr. Braybain, the board has done a great job. Please don't let this happen again, because we got young people that's fighting for our city. There's young people at Dunbar that want to be like those who came before them, that want to graduate, want to continue the history inside our community as African Americans, and most importantly want Dunbar to continue to be the standard of black history in our city. Thank you.
Greetings, Madam Chair, leaders of staff, and friends of Lynchburg City School Board. I am Brandon Riley, just a private citizen concerned about the actions that took place. Definitely echoing the thoughts of Dr. Hutchison, and I just really want to express a concern for how the violations of the core values for which the school system holds in terms of integrity, respect, teamwork, and learning. All of those things were not reflected in the actions of what occurred. And I'm here, particularly in the realm of teamwork and learning, to understand what happened, why this did occur, and how we can prevent it from occurring again, particularly working together in unity and in love. So I just want to thank you.
Tom Prest.
Madam Chair, members of the school board, my comments are not related to the other comments. I come before you this evening to ask that you reconsider your decision to change how GPAs are calculated for advanced placement classes. I believe this decision actually hurts some of the system's highest academically functioning students, and therefore challenges your fulfillment of the mission statement, every child by name, by need to graduation. While this vote may not change the expectations of taking AP classes, it does very clearly change the incentive for taking them. One of the huge strengths of LCS is that there's a place for everyone to plug into that's unmatched in our region. While this change may not affect the majority of students, it very clearly affects a group of students who strive to achieve at their highest level in everything they do, and they're able to do it. So what's wrong with the change? First, the change takes away an incentive for the students who desire to excel to their highest level while in high school by limiting the weights of classes that truly deserve higher ratings, as they are more difficult and they're much more involved. You're creating an environment that artificially limits a student's ability to excel. Yes, the student may still take the classes, but you are limiting their ability to affect their GPA based on when they take the class, if they take it as a freshman, sophomore, or junior, and by the number of classes taken. In effect, you're penalizing our most ambitious students, and I just don't understand why you would want to do that. Second, the old policy has worked. Just look at the numbers of students who granted admission to some of the best colleges and universities in the country. Reputation of Lynchburg City Schools for providing a quality education for all its students is unmatched in the region. There are areas that need improvement, and I commend you for your efforts on closing the achievement gap as well as other measures. However, lowering the bar is not the answer. A rising tide lifts all boats, as JFK said in 1963. And last, the Lynchburg City Schools and the city of Lynchburg are in competition with surrounding counties and private schools for the highest functioning students in both athletics and academics. Perception is reality, and this change provides a possible perception that the school board may not be as committed to maintaining the tradition of excellence that has existed for generations. This reputation must be protected in order for the city of Lynchburg and the Lynchburg City Schools to continue to be a great place to live, work, play, and learn. In closing, I just wonder why you put so much effort into this when there are so many other topics that need urgent concern. So, thank you.
All right. Our next speaker is McKinley Marshall.
Good evening to everyone. My name is McKinley Marshall, and even though I am a candidate for the Ward 2 seat, I am here as a private citizen tonight to address the situation that took place at Dunbar this past Friday. I am here today because I have received numerous calls from concerned citizens, many of which reside in Ward 2, each caller expressing outrage at an incident that occurred at Dunbar Middle School, where during a Black History program, while invited guests were performing, a teacher who is employed by the city of Lynchburg interrupted the program and invited anyone who was upset with the program to meet him in the gym. I have investigated this situation, and I can stand here tonight and say that my chief witness is my own great-granddaughter, who just so happened to be present when the situation took place. The incident did happen, and I stand here tonight as a resident of Lynchburg to strongly urge you to dismiss this teacher, because I don't believe that this action is representative of any kind of subculture operating in our schools, especially in the light of the recent concern over the achievement gap. I want to go a little bit further and say something else. This is not the first incident of this type that has happened at Dunbar, and that teacher who made that mistake was dismissed. True, we seem to live in an apologetic world when people do things of negativity and say, "I'm sorry." Well, we need to say, "I'm sorry you're no longer employed in the Lynchburg public school system of excellence." As a product of the public school system myself, I feel very, very ashamed that something like this would happen at the school that educated me. I think we need to evaluate everything, look at everything, and I think that the bottom line should be a true dismissal of this individual. Thank you.
Mary Payne?
Good afternoon. I'm like Math Arthur. I do return. I'm here because I told you about the disparity between the black and white teachers in the city of Lynchburg. And those of you who were not here at that time when I talked, if you need to talk to me, I'm open to talk with you. Your personnel manager has told me that she will talk with me and see what we can do to help recruit people into Lynchburg who have lived in a double world. I told you at that time that anytime you hire a person that only knows one side of the country, you're going to have problems. And so it is tonight. I'm here with friends and neighbors because just what I warned you of has happened. When you have people who come from schools who have not learned to live with other people, then they become disrespectful and do not appreciate others. Now, the principal at Dunbar Middle School has been disrespected to the highest. That's the only thing I could say. To the highest. I wouldn't dare come down here and override Dr. Braybrand. No, at no time. And I don't want any teacher teaching any of my grandchildren, my cousins, my nieces, my friends who have no respect for authority. And I'm telling you, I will be back because you're going to sit me down pretty soon. But we do not want this teacher in our neighborhood anymore. Now, I know you need time, and I'm not putting any pressure on you. I'm going to give you until April the 1st. And then we will be back, and we will be back strong, because we are not going to be taxpaying citizens of Lynchburg and tolerate someone coming in here disrespecting our teachers and our leaders and our principal there at that school. She has all the qualifications that she needs. She don't need some young whippersnapper to tell her what to do. She knows what to do. All he had to do was go in there and ask her and tell her what was going on. And to you, I'm saying, if you don't find a way to get people into Lynchburg who know about one another, then we will have this happening over and over again. I know my time is up, and I shall return.
Consuela Mosley.
Yes, I would like to talk about how the Lynchburg City School failed my daughter from 2011-2014. My daughter missed 29 days and 41 tardies. I was not allowed, nobody allowed to speak to me. I was denied my daughter's graduation. I would like to speak to show the information. I know the teachers are taught the FERPA laws. I have material. I have black and white documentation. The teachers need to know how to read. I'm asking for a meeting. As Dr. Brayman knows, he has spoken with me several times. I'm a child's advocate. I speak for children. I'm the children's voice. All I ask, if you're a parent, can you imagine not being able to be in your children's education? My daughter was a straight A SCA officer 2 years in a row. Can you imagine missing the teenage years? I'm asking that y'all pay attention to these children. They don't have behavior problems. When they are put in the middle of children's adult decisions, they don't have behavior. They are being put in adult decisions. Pay attention. I have information, and I would explain, and y'all can meet with me, and thank you for this time. It was not reported to the truancy office, so when it's not reported to Mike Spencer, they cannot do anything. And he can tell you, I called numerous times. The principal, the only principal who met with me was Dan Quayle, and the NACRANG teachers were supportive, and sometimes teachers have a hard time because they want to help and they cannot help. So I thank the teachers who was willing to help but are put in positions when their job is on the line. So thanks for this opportunity. Where the Lynchburg City Schools failed my daughter. The youngest did not have to, and my oldest will be graduating from CVCC on May 12th. Thank you.
Okay.
Good evening. My name is Paul Key. I'm very disturbed about the incident that took place at Dunbar. I collaborate with those that have already spoken to that regard. I'm also a pastor. I was in the first graduating class of the old Heritage High School. My daughter will be in the second graduation of the new Heritage High School. I was also on the previous administration Principals Advisory Council, and also on the past 2 or 3 administrations Superintendent Citywide Advisory Council. We also celebrate as a Community Outreach Center a 20-year partnership with the Lynchburg City Schools. And I just simply write to say that this incident that impacts the morale of our students and the kids throughout our communities at large, they're very frustrated. We have students that are challenged with IEPs as well as students and kids with APs. And they don't see where there's a real confidence in respect to what we're trying to do as a community group when it comes to the Lynchburg City Schools Equity Task Force, which I am also a part of. So I'm very concerned about the morale and the morality of the matter at hand, and I ask you at large. I look around the room and I see both administrative personnel as well as retired and former teachers that once taught me and were involved in making sure that I was proficient in my cultural endeavors as an art director, and also to go on and do my studies and graduate from Liberty University. So we're sending a very poor message, and I think we need to go ahead and do what we need to do to make this thing better for everybody. With this already said, and I see that I have another minute, so I'm going to take advantage of it. It's important that if we're going to work together, if we're going to make the sacrifices that you have encouraged us as community members at large to come to the table, to visit here, to break bread, to be prayerful, and to grieve with families, and to contend to their concerns and their issues at large, you need to find a common ground. We need to find a way to bring a little more unity in our community and give them a confidence that will let them know, even our students and young people who are aspiring to do so well, to want to come back to Lynchburg or even stay in Lynchburg to help Lynchburg grow rather than leaving Lynchburg and leaving it to somebody that we don't know. Thank you very much.
All right, that concludes our public comments for this evening. We will move on to item B1, student recognition. Dr. Brabrand.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure to share with you Michaela Warwick, who is a senior at E.C. Glass High School. She has been selected as one of 106 students nationwide to receive the prestigious 2016 Horatio Alger National Scholarship in the amount of $22,000. Michaela is one of 2 students selected in the state of Virginia. The Horatio Alger National Scholarship Program is an annual scholarship that recognizes outstanding students who, in the face of great adversity, have exhibited an admirable commitment to continuing their education and serving their communities. These National Scholar recipients notably have these following minimal qualifications. They maintain an average GPA of 3.7 or higher. They've earned an ACT score of 26, which is 5 points above the national average, and they come from households with an average income of $14,000. Michaela has been accepted into the University of Pennsylvania, the Ivy League, and has received a full scholarship through Questbridge. It is my pleasure and honor to recognize her tonight for the Lynchburg City School Board, if she would come forward to receive.
I didn't really prepare to say anything, but I just want to say thank you, and I feel so much support from the community and the school board and EC Glass as a whole, and I didn't expect this outpouring and this much recognition, so I just want to say thank you so much, and I'd like to contribute this to my family, and my mom's here today, and also to my teachers, core classes, as well as the art classes and the drama classes that I've taken, because they really helped me learn how to express myself in ways that are beneficial to my future. So, thank you.
If you come up, Michaela, and the board would like to take a picture with you inside the horseshoe, come on in.
I just want to say Michaela's walking out the door, but I had the pleasure of getting to know Michaela when she was in 3rd grade at the Go Center and went through the Go Center with my youngest daughter. So it's wonderful to see such a wonderful young woman. I know you've worked really hard, and I know your mom's proud, and we're all proud of you. So congratulations again. Anybody else? All right. We will move on to our special presentation this evening, Lynchburg College Grow Your Own Initiative, and this will go to Dr. Brabrand.
Thank you, Ms. Haas. This, I know, is a topic. We are glad to have Lynchburg College folks, John Walker, Dr. Walker, and Dr. Jones coming. One of the issues that we're trying to look at is creating a pipeline for our teachers who represent underrepresented populations in our teaching staff relative to our student population, and to produce future STEM teachers. And Lynchburg College, in partnership with Central Virginia Community College tonight, wants to share with you their Grow Your Own initiative that would provide future STEM program teachers and teachers from underrepresented populations as part of our school division staff. This is an opportunity for local school divisions that would include us to identify, support, and hire former students as teachers in their respective school divisions. During this presentation, they will provide additional information about this initiative and be available to answer any board questions for your consideration. So Dr. Walker, Dr. Jones, thank you very much for being here, and we're excited, and I'm excited personally, for you to share this initiative with this board and the community this evening.
Madam Chairman, board members, Dr. Brabrand. Good evening. Thank you for your effective leadership on a daily basis and for allowing Dr. Jones and me to be here. What we're here to share has been discussed with Dr. Brabrand and our other local superintendents. The Lynchburg College, Central Virginia Community College, local school divisions Grow Your Own initiative is designed to produce future STEM program teachers and teachers from underrepresented populations. This is an opportunity for Lynchburg City Schools to identify, support, and hire your students as teachers. From your website, Lynchburg City Schools offers educational services to over 8,000 students, enrolled preschool through adult classes in 2 high schools, 3 middle schools, and 11 elementary schools. Your website speaks to your alternative education, your gifted programs, and your programs for the disabled. It speaks to your elementary schools providing optimal academic environments and accelerated learning opportunities. And your LCS mission statement, as you know far better than I, every child by name and by need to graduation. We believe the Grow Your Own initiative can support the LCS endeavors that you work so hard to fulfill. The success in the classroom is more likely to occur with effective colleagues. My experience is that teachers coming back to where they went to school are often the most devoted and dedicated colleagues there are. It is documented that student college debt is $1.3 billion, which is greater than credit card debt, and Grow Your Own provides a very attractive financial package for prospective teachers. With Dr. Capps and Dr. Mickles from CVCC, folks at LC, and with input from area superintendents, a guided pathway from high school to CVCC to LC, so those students you identify and support can complete their degrees and teacher licensure requirements in a timely, cost-effective manner and be prepared to return and effectively lead classrooms in your division. Some details of the plan, and Dr. Brabrand, if there are too many, you can just say, John, that's good. Each school division will identify high school seniors who will be encouraged to become teachers. Generally, these candidates will be encouraged to study in STEM-related fields, or they could be from a underrepresented group within the division. However, who you wish to have in this program is at the discretion of each school division. School divisions would establish an agreement with each candidate. That may be unique for each school division. All candidates will be required to meet all Virginia licensure requirements. If they do not, the agreements will become null and void, and the candidate would be expected to pay back any loan assistance provided by a school division. That agreement would be between the candidate and the school division and doesn't involve LC or CVCC. Candidate licensure requirements include but are not limited to board members and colleagues here with Lynchburg City Schools. You know very well that the requirements to become a licensed teacher in Virginia are very stringent, and all those expectations would have to be satisfied through the program. They would need a 3-point overall GPA to be admitted to the teacher prep program. They would need a 3.0 GPA in specific content area that they wish to become licensed in. There is testing and a myriad of other requirements that they would need to satisfy, as any licensed Virginia teacher needs to do. This would not be unique for the people in this program. Candidates would apply both to CVCC and LC and will need to be admitted by both institutions to participate in the programs. Candidates will be considered to be duly enrolled, and they would have advisors at CVCC and at LC. Candidates would follow a guided pathway to licensure, courses designed to meet their licensure requirements, and the plan is that through this guided pathway programs, students would be able to complete their licensure requirements and become licensed practicing teachers within 4 years. Candidates will graduate from CVCC with an Associate's Arts and Sciences degree while paying the CVCC tuition for the first 2 years. During the first semester at CVCC, students will take Introduction to Teaching as a Profession on the CVCC campus taught by an LC colleague. During the remaining 3 semesters while they're at CVCC, students would take a class each semester at Lynchburg College. This would allow them to become acclimated to the campus, get to know the faculty, and have a better feel for what their future holds. We will also have field experiences for these students while at CVCC and through LC, and these field experiences will be supervised by an LC faculty member. They would return to their home school division to do these experiences, and each school division will assign the candidates to a mentor teacher who would work collaboratively with the LC supervisor for the semester so they get the optimal experience. Upon graduation from CVCC, candidates will continue their education at LC. Candidates will complete their professional education courses, which could be up to 18 hours, and all other licensure courses, including field experiences and student teaching at LC. Candidates will receive a financial package from LC that will provide significant reduction in tuition. It is based primarily on a student's GPA, and the stronger their GPA, the more financially attractive the package would be. Granted, from identification to being in the classroom could be a 4 to 5 year wait for them to actually be ready to teach. But we believe that the idea that you could establish a relationship with students from your division and work with them while they're going to CVCC and LC and be active in your schools would be a positive thing, and it would be a good investment in your recruiting process. Regarding local financial support, LC, if it wishes or is able to, can provide financial support, or it may be help with debt after the students finish their degree program. There is no expectation or requirement for students to participate in the Grow Your Own program that Lynchburg City Schools or any other school division has to make a financial commitment. It's an opportunity for the students to get the support, know it's an environment where they want to come back to, where they've been raised and lived and can come back and contribute to their local schools. Information that was included was on the financial package. I will be glad to answer questions, as will Dr. Jones, but that is the substance of the program. We are going to present on Thursday in 2 other school divisions. One other school division is excited about the possibility and will share it with their school board, as will another. So we welcome any questions or thoughts or suggestions you might have.
Madam Chair, I think that this is certainly a wonderful concept to Grow Your Own initiative, and thank you for how you are putting your minds together to make this work. STEM is something that is incredibly important in our division and across the country, and to have people who are familiar with the division and familiar with the needs of the kids, and to even be able to attract them to take those STEM courses. Because in schools like Dunbar and others at the middle school level, we've got to get folk involved and get them ready, because we have a serious problem with that across the country. I just attended a session in Harrisonburg around this same subject. So I thank you for what you're doing, and I think that this is something we ought to look at.
I had a question in regards to, is there a model or a benchmark out there that we can expect, I get maybe how many students will actually make it through a percentage of students that make it from the beginning of the program to the end? I know that might be a little premature for you where you are right now, but just trying to get an idea of a completion rate for students. Is there a consistent mark, or is there something that you could?
Well, there is no model like this in the country that we can find. It is a unique private college, CVCC, public college partnership. The beauty of this program is we can run the program with one student. We would love to have a cohort from the 5 regional school divisions who would stay together for the 4-year period, but the reality is that we can run it with one student. In terms of what the rate would be in terms of completion would be driven by the individual students without any model whatsoever. We have at Lynchburg College a graduation rate which is probably in the neighborhood of 60 to 70%, but those are over in 4 years, higher after that. But in terms of actually knowing what percent of students would finish, I don't know, and there's no way for us to project that. Although when you identify students who have made a commitment and have a passion for what they do, they have supporters and have advisors at both schools and have support at both institutions. I suspect that the graduation rate would be pretty high given the fact that there's a job at the end of the 4-year period.
Just for clarification, the students that we have currently in the early college program, if we identified one of those students as, a candidate for this program, how would that kind of transition be? Because those students are, I guess, just from a financial standpoint for those students and everything, can you help me with that?
You may be, I know we discussed that as a group of regional superintendents with you, that could be a possibility among the early college cohorts from around the region.
Yeah, that's correct. If you complete the early college program, you're going to have an associate's degree. And the advantage to the partnership we already have with CVCC is if you have an associate's degree from CVCC, you meet our gen ed requirements at Lynchburg College, and the only courses you have to take on top of that would be foreign language and would be a senior symposium. You would meet the other gen ed requirements. So you could come into Lynchburg College as a junior through the early college program, enter into the program as part of the Grow Your Own initiative and actually be finished in, I can't guarantee you're going to be finished in 2 years because it depends on what happens with I would think most 5 semesters rather than 4 perhaps, because you're going to have to meet the foreign language requirement, which we will make sure you do that while you're at CVCC. Of course, you can test out a foreign language, and so if you can do that, then you could probably finish in 2 years and be ready to teach in 2 years.
I guess the promise is we could look at trying to identify kids as early as now that are already in our early college program for an expedited Grow Your Own, just to select people that we think are interested. But of course, I didn't want, as administration, to get ahead of what seems maybe like a good idea, but without having the board weigh in and see if this is consistent with what we've talked about in other venues around these kind of issues.
So there's no financial commitment from the division up front?
No.
Other than, I guess, a commitment to hire the student?
Assuming they meet the requirements for licensure. Yeah.
So I guess the obvious question is, why do you even need local school system buy-in? It seems like you could run this program on your own, and then they're out. Those students are out in the pool of available candidates and probably would get picked up fairly quickly, regardless of whether it's part of the LCS or area.
I think primarily what we wanted to do was make sure, and what Dr. Brabrand and other superintendents have talked about, was let's make sure our board members know about the program and what it entails. And then the decisions how boards wish to support it or approve it is really at the discretion of each board. If a board chose not to approve it, that certainly, I don't believe, would preclude students from participating in it.
No, you're right. We could do it, and we could do it easily. In fact, we may end up doing it through a national focus, through another initiative within a year. Our thought is, and having spent 32 years in this school division, and having 2 children graduated from this school division, and is that we want to be a part of Central Virginia and make a difference in Central Virginia. It is our belief that when you identify individuals within a community, as I believe Pastor Key may have said and others said earlier tonight, when you can get individuals in Lynchburg to stay in Lynchburg, to be a part of Lynchburg, to become part of the future of Lynchburg, to become part of the teaching profession in Lynchburg, to elevate the teaching profession, and to attract the best and the brightest back to Lynchburg, Lynchburg City Schools benefits. Yes, you can send your graduates to us. Yes, we will graduate them. Yes, we will send them to another school division to teach, and we will have met our goals. But our goal is to help you reach your goal should you choose to take advantage.
I just want to say I certainly do like the program, and the idea that you've just expressed. Grow up in the school system, you come back to it, and you are part of it. You're not just here. You are part of the system. Thank you.
Dr. Millis made me think about a couple of things, and I'm be finished with this. Obviously, we suffer from brain drain when our talented and best go somewhere else rather than staying here, so that kind of helps in that regard. But a lot of times we bring these bold initiatives, and they are partnerships that will relieve us from financial burden. But we can't keep doing things and not make sure that there's not the proper resources to make it work so that we get the benefit that we're looking for. So it's clear to me we don't need to vote on this. This is just for information. And so he's really raising a good point. You know, how are we viewing this? I see this as a win-win if, in fact, it's clearly you're saying that you want to help us in the area of STEM, science, technology, engineering, math. Have qualified teachers that come out of our own system who know our kids and our communities and can come back and be hired with a competitive salary. That's our part, I know. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, and it would be up to you to decide whether or not you wanted to support them. There is some discussion within the region. I can't tell you what other school boards are going to do, neither Dr. Walker nor I. There is some discussion in at least one other school division that they might actually provide upfront scholarship money for individuals that they recommend and provide some scholarship money over a 4-year period with the expectation that they would come back and teach within that division. There have been some school divisions that did not believe that they have the financial resources to do that. They have talked about the possibility of providing, after the student graduates, we're going to guarantee that if you meet requirements, you're going to get a job. But we may provide you with some kind of bonus incentive in order to sign a contract after you've committed to 4 years to help defray some of your costs over the 4 years. And other school divisions are just going to take their chances. They're going to identify them. They're going to encourage them. They're going to recognize that they will come back to their schools for field experience and student teaching. They will link back to the teachers within their school division, and hopefully we'll be able, by virtue of the fact that you're a graduate of this school division, we're not going to provide you with any financial assistance, but we want you to come back to teach but that's your call. That has nothing to do with how we run our program.
You helped me. Thank you, sir. That helps me. I just know that if Dr. Bray Brown is serious about trying to get things, and we all are, better. You helped me because, once again, we can sit here and say, oh, that's good. But then if we're not really prepared to put teeth where we can to make sure that we get the kids interested, get them in the program, and get them back here, we're just putting something else on a piece of paper to say we're doing, but it's really not making a necessary impact. And if you're telling me other school divisions are doing certain types of things to ensure that their people will be incentivized to get in and participate, I'm certainly all for that. I know we don't have a lot of money with the budget hearings for another time. But thank you, and this is a good thing.
If I can just say that the discussions are, I'm not prepared to tell you what a school board is going to do, but the discussions within school divisions range in those ways in which I shared.
Thank you, sir.
And one additional question. We would be ready to begin this program in the fall?
We are ready to begin in the fall. If we have one student, we are ready to begin in the fall.
So if the board likes it, we could start to facilitate LC arriving and working with our high school administrations to see if they're interested kids that would fit the profile of this program and lift them up to at least be aware of the opportunity. At a later time, the board could decide whether they would want to make a financial commitment or ask the Education Foundation, for example, the Candler Fund that's been created around accelerated opportunities for students. We've used a little bit of that for early college, if you recall. Remember, for Kids Free and Reduced Lunch for early college last year, this board voted for 50% support for them, and they could go to the Candler Fund for additional support. The Candler Fund's broader than just early college. That could be a place that the board could go. It's really a board's decision. If there's nothing that the board feels is negative about this program, I would start to work with our high school administrators to give an opportunity, like we would any university, to share information about this program and help maybe identify kids that would have an interest in aptitude for wanting to do this. So I'm not hearing concerns beyond the financial issue, which wouldn't be addressed tonight. We would certainly start that dialogue unless board would like a different direction.
I guess I'm going back to the why do you need buy-in or agreement from any school system. I mean, if it's a good idea, if you think it's a good idea, you could start it and see how it goes and then try to get some in. And I mean, it just seems a little odd that, I guess that's just the best way I can put it, is it just seems a little odd that we're asking for approval for this, but there's not really any, other than maybe picking a student out and saying, yeah, we're going to hire you, which seems a little risky on an individual basis. I mean, it might be okay if you had 10 or 20 going through, but that's just kind of like my initial reaction.
Well, I think, again, what we're looking to do is create a pathway for students who want to teach in STEM areas.
And exactly, and and that's what you mean. You can do that all on your own. I mean, you said that earlier.
And sure. Certainly we will, but we believed, and the superintendent was believed, to inform school boards of this opportunity. And then having been a superintendent, I don't think I'd want to sign us up for this and come back and tell the school board, well, by the way, I want to inform you what I've done. So this was an opportunity to provide information and for you all to answer questions, and then collectively, as a board, if you choose not to support it officially, that would not preclude Lynchburg City school students from participating in the program. It's going to be there and it's going to be available. Certainly we would hope that within the school counselors and other school colleagues would work with those students who might be attractive candidates and bring it to their attention in case they were interested.
So on a related note then, will you be working with the directors of the early college program and the STEM Academy? Because those are, would seem to be a perfect place to start recruitment.
We haven't done that yet. We're working very closely with Dr. Capps, but certainly that would be a prudent thing for us to do. We haven't yet, but certainly that's something we will do.
as well as the Teachers for Tomorrow program, which is also in most of the area school divisions and is certainly in Lynchburg City. And I certainly understand Dr. Nillis's position, and I would reiterate again that, yes, we can do it. But I will tell you, as an assistant superintendent here, I thought this was a really good idea back in 2001. That if we had actually made an effort within the school division to try to grow our own and to encourage our best and brightest to come back to Lynchburg, that we could make a difference locally. And that's what we're trying to do. It really doesn't matter whether the board supports it, except for Lynchburg City. Because I suspect that there will be some other localities that will, but that's really up to you. And we're happy to work with Lynchburg City in whatever way we can work with you. We consider ourselves a player in Central Virginia.
Can I make sure I understand, what do we mean when we say underrepresented? I think I know. What does that mean?
Well, it would certainly be minority students, African American students, other minority groups, but at the same time, it could be a female in a STEM course, so that you've got females teaching science courses and teaching math courses, depending on how you define it, because you define underrepresented. We don't define that. It could very well be a male in an elementary school. It could be any underrepresented group, but our initial thought was to attract minority students into the teaching profession and bring them back to the locality in which they graduated, so that they make a commitment to that locality, become role models for those that they see in the future, and also to attract STEM teachers who would come back and teach in the field. Basically, we want to elevate the teaching profession. Our view is that teaching is the most important profession there is, that we need to elevate the profession, that nobody should ever apologize for being a teacher. They should be very proud of being a teacher, and those are the kinds of individuals we want to attract back into the teaching profession.
Thank you, sir. And I can't see how we would not want to do all we can to support that.
This is my last comment. I just wanted to express my concern, not for you individually. A similar program happened at my high school. I graduated in 2002, and there was a very strong effort to recruit members that had graduated from my high school to come back, and I could say it was successful. The first 3 years, in 2007, there were a lot of my classmates that have returned back to the school. My concern is just the retention of them, because as I'm looking now, none of them are there, and I understand that there's going to be turnover in anything that you do. So I'm not saying that what you guys doing is destined for that outcome, but I am concerned just because I have seen it. It was great for 3 years. Around the 5-year mark, you could see it leveling off, and then the other 4 years pretty much has been a decline. So that's why I asked the question earlier, was how can you, I know there's no way to ensure that students are going to go through the program. I know there's no way to ensure anything, but I just wanted to express my concerns up front on what my concerns with what you're
and I apologize because I misinterpreted your question about retention. I looked at it from a 4-year college perspective. You were looking at it after you got a job staying in the profession.
Right.
And that's an issue that would have to be resolved with assistance and professional development and mentoring within the individual school, and a strong mentoring program with all of your new teachers that you bring into the school division, and working to keep them. Yeah.
And I believe we have a colleague that's working on such a proposal right now.
Thank you.
Yeah, we know that's an issue for all new teachers and keeping them in the profession, and that's another endeavor we're looking at, trying to help local school divisions address.
Thank you.
Any other comment, concerns? All right. Well, thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate the time and effort that you've put into designing this program. I think it sounds like it's worth the pilot. It's worth getting out there to see how it's going to work. And I think growing our own and being able to bring STEM teachers back into our school division would be just a great thing, because I'm with Mr. Polly, though, the retention of, we have a hard time keeping our STEM teachers now, because the pay is not comparable to what you can get in the industry. So anything that you can do on that end to help us figure out how to retain our teachers in the STEM classes would be wonderful. But thank you very much. Do we need anything else?
No, thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. We will move on to our consent agenda. The consent agenda this evening is school board meeting minutes from February 16th regular meeting and the religious exemption. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? No. Motion carries. All right, that moves us on to student rep comments, and we don't have anyone here representing Heritage tonight. So, Mr. Farmer, what's going on at Glass?
This is for February. We were off during the last meeting, but for the first week of February, our Hilltopper of the Week was Miss Yates, who's a health and PE teacher, and she also helps to she also coaches lacrosse and is the sponsor for the student council, and has been very helpful with matters of the student council and setting up Spirit Week and other activities that all the students go through. So we were very thankful for it. The Hilltop of the Week for the following week was Mr. Anthony, who's a coach for the golf team and coordinates all of the behind the wheel training, and the sponsor of the senior class, who helps to coordinate everything that the senior class does, like in graduation and like or T-shirts or anything like that. We have two students who are been selected to go on to get pretty close to big scholarships. Sam LeFew for the UVA Jefferson Scholar, where now he will be one of 112 final nominees for selection, as well as Sarah Phillips, who's for the Park Scholarship, who's one of 112 finalists out of over 2,000 candidates. And also, as a finalist, she is guaranteed a $10,000 scholarship, regardless of where she places for the final scholarship, if she applies to NC State. This year of our junior class, 79 students were inducted into the National Honor Society, which is about a little less than a quarter of that grade's population, which is an impressive statistic. Recently we had our blood drive, which was hosted by the dental students, where you could obviously come out and give blood, and their goal was to reach over 200 pints donated for them to receive a $2,500 scholarship from the Red Cross. And I'm not quite sure if they have met it, but I understand they were either really close or they met it. Last month was the National Career and Technical Education Month, which, as we were just discussing with STEM, is a very important part of our school system, and promoting students will be able to graduate with skills that they can carry on to a field or carry on to a field of study in their college. Just some images of our various programs. 2 weeks ago was our Spirit Week, which always involves dressing up for certain days. And the first day, or Monday, was Pajama Day, where every student would come to school wearing their pajamas, and there are a couple pictures of them. And the second, which was the first while I've been a student at Glass, was Wacky Tacky Day, where you just come as dressed as tacky as possible. And as you can see that by that picture, students got the idea of it, as well as teachers. Wednesday was Galaxy Day, where the overwhelming theme was Star Wars, where students dressed up as Darth Vader and Princess Leia, and a teacher did this spiral honey bun braid around a bagel, which was really funny, and the students on the bottom dressed up for Galaxy Day. And then on Thursday was USA Day, where students would obviously show patriotism by dressing up, with students either wearing American flags or the bottom, a group of them getting together to sport the jerseys from the U.S. men's national basketball team from a while back. And finally, Friday was Blue Out Day, which was mostly to show like student support for their school and for everybody to be wearing blue for the pep rally that occurred later that day. At the pep rally, we started off with like a performance by the cheerleaders where they did a routine to song, and then also the rock band performed a few songs like in between or during games or activities that were being done at the pep rally. And during the pep rally, we had our student-faculty basketball game, and there's some pictures from the girls' game, which sadly ended in a tie with. So we were going to have to wait till next year to see who is actually the better team. Also, the boys' game, which ended early because school finished and a couple students stormed onto the court, which prevented playing. But when it ended early, they were still tied, which, same as the girls, we'll have to wait till next year to find out. 4 glass students, the wrestling team, placed the top 4 at conference, so they locked out all 4 of the top spots in the Conference 23 wrestling tournament, which is obviously a great achievement, and it will be heading on to regions. And Sally Ford, a Glass alumni, was participating in the Olympic trials, which are qualifying for the upcoming Olympics this year in Brazil. And in it, she was running the marathon, and she did very well. And I believe she will be going on to compete in the Olympics in Brazil. That's it.
Thank you.
Yes.
All right. Item F1 comes back to us for action this evening, the Lucille Chapin Kent historical marker. Ms. White was here last meeting and was able to answer some of our questions. Do you have anything else to add?
I don't have anything to add, Ms. Hoff.
I'd like to move to approve the language as presented.
Is there a second? All right. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? No one. Motion carries. All right. Thank you. All right. We'll move on to new business. Item G1, EC Glass High School international travel. And this goes to Dr. McLean.
Good evening. This information is for information tonight with requested action at our next meeting. Comes to you by policy when we have an international travel trip for our students. Comes to you for review. And I'm going to call on Ms. Markovinovic to share this program, which is this year's version of one that's been ongoing for several years.
Good evening. My name is Magdalena Markovinovic, and I'm a German teacher now at EC Glass High School. You might have seen me, some of you, here before presenting this trip already twice. And with me tonight is Ms. Diane Brown, a German teacher from Dunbar Middle School. I have also 2 students who have participated in the previous 2 travels, in our first travel and then last travel that we had past summer. I will give a short overview of the program. Frau Brown, Mrs. Brown will then give some information about what chaperones and do during the trip, and also about safety. And students are here also to say a little bit about their experience and to answer any questions you might have for them. So the purpose of the program, this is an educational trip. It is not a tourist trip for our Lynchburg City School students. GAPP stands for German American Partnership Program, and it started with Heritage High School only being involved, and then we continued with the program, spreading it also to EC Glass High School. The teacher from Germany got in touch with me, and we started the program 2014. They came for their 3rd visit in October to Lynchburg, and we plan to go to Germany in June for our 3rd visit. GAPP, or German American Partnership Program, is an organization that's sponsored by State Department, and it helps us with the organization, with insurance, with the flight, and also they offer us a grant for both students and for teachers, which helps tremendously with the cost of our travel. Okay, so this will be our third time visiting in Germany, and they have been here for the last time in October for 2 weeks, October 2015. Next slide has some information about location, and we do not need to see those two links, but they're there just for extra information. But I just wanted to give you an idea as to where we're going. The place where we'll be is outside of Berlin. It's about 35 minutes southwest of Berlin. It's called Stahnsdorf. And some students live in Kleinmachnow as well, where the Green Star is. It's 10 minutes away from Potsdam also, so there is a lot of there are a lot of historical sites in the area. It is not inside a city. It is a small town, or they call it Dorf, which is a village. Student participants, we have LCS, high schools only, being involved as travelers. So we do not join other high schools from USA, although the program involves other schools too. They go with their own school. So this is Lynchburg City Schools, EC Glass, and Heritage High School students. Program is advertised ahead of time, and we do have applications that students fill out, a lot of paperwork, a lot of forms, recommendation letters as well. Students do a lot of work when they're traveling. It is an educational travel for them, so they have to fill out a packet, do some surveys. They can even be involved in class talks, have a project to present, etc. It is indeed an educational experience for them. We had 2 previous visits, and the students will be sharing some information on that. And as far as when we're going, we're planning to go on the 13th of June to return on 29th of June. And students will attend school then, because the German school system does have school up until, in that school, at least they are in the school until the 17th of July, actually. Travel arrangements, we have flight itinerary that we research ourselves, and then have help from a travel agent at local travel agents in Lynchburg. The cost of the travel is the cost of the plane ticket. Meals and accommodation are provided from the hosts, and extra spending money is any amount that students would take as their extra spending money. Typical schedules are pretty much the same for teachers and students. So Ms. Diane Brown will continue on what we do as chaperones and safety as well.
Hello. Ms. Markovinovich and I were both chaperones on the last 2 trips, and this year we will also chaperone, and we'll be joined by Dr. Barbara Hassel, who's the German teacher at Heritage High School. As chaperones, we're very involved with the day-to-day activities of our students as well as the German host families that they stay with. We see the students, I would say, almost every day. The exception might be on a weekend. If we're not in school, they may be with their host family, and they may go on a short trip somewhere. We have class visits as teachers. We attend other German teachers' classes. We attend meetings. We've attended faculty meetings. I also had an opportunity last year to actually cover a class for a German teacher, like I do here also. But we do see our students every day, and they're able to contact us with any concerns or questions that they might have. Okay. As far as the safety of our students goes, we do monitor the daily news and State Department travel advisories. This year we've purchased tickets that are refundable minus a $200 deductible, so that if there is an international event or if there's a concern and we can't go, the students and the teachers are able to refund the vast majority of their money. Every student, every American student that travels signs a GAP Code of Conduct which we go over with them in meetings that lead up to the visit so they know what behavior is expected of us or expected of them. We communicate with the host families while we're there. We communicate with the students. They are able to contact us by calling a host family. We see them at school if they have concerns. And some of the field trips that they go on where they visit historical sites, we're always with them on those. So they do have contact with us quite a bit. They fill out forms, the Lynchburg City School forms for medications and health-related information. We also provide, for a cost of $12, approximately $12, health insurance, which I myself took advantage of once when I was there, and I had no issues, no cost whatsoever to myself. So the health insurance is very good. If a child needed hospitalization or just needed to see a doctor, that's taken care of through that insurance.
Okay, thank you. And as far as also what we do with parents and students, we hold every month a meeting once we initiate the program after advertising. Parents and students meet with us and we cover some of the topics such as information about the program, the information about the school where our partner school is, sites that we will be visiting. We discuss travel advice, currency, cultural differences, etc. And students are here to say some information about what they have experienced. So,
good evening. My name is Jesus Rivera.
I'm Sierra Foster.
Well, where can I start? It was a great experience, pretty much. I went there 2 years ago to Berlin, Germany. It was just an amazing, and it was full of pleasures. You can say what I mean.
I went this past summer, and it's really just an awesome opportunity. You can learn a lot from, sitting in the class, and you can learn about the historical places or the culture, and you can learn the grammar, but it's not the same as being there and experiencing it for yourself and sitting in on classes with these other students and participating with them.
I've been to a lot of different countries, but especially just going to Germany was like one of my dreams, and it became true. And it was just not just a regular visiting experience, but as well as getting to know more the culture of what an everyday life like a German student goes through. Like here in America, it's a lot different than you think, and I mean, I was able to visit a lot of the historical sites. I'm really into soccer, so my host was too, and that was a great thing, that we got in common. And I was able to visit the Olympic Stadium, the Berlin Wall. It was just too many to count, seriously.
Yeah, and you build lifelong friendships. I'm still in contact with the people that came and stayed here and the people that I stayed with. So, it's just really
it's just basically creating relationships. I was able to host 2 different students, and I was able to be a guest myself, and it was just a great experience because you get to see the world in a different side, on a different perspective. The culture is different than it is taught. So, thank you.
So that will be it for our presentation. I do have some extra information if you want to pass that.
Thank you. And what the students shared was really incredible. Tom Webb's not here to ask this question, so I guess I will ask it. I see we have 10 students that will be able to attend, and is it going to be any efforts to help somebody who really, really wants to go, meets the criteria, but may have some financial challenges? I forget the discussion last year, but I just wanted to ask that question.
We've talked about that, I think, last year as well. We advertise it in advance, long time in advance. For example, Ms. Brown, she's teaching in middle school, so we start talking about it in middle school. The 2 students who are here with me tonight, they went with me last year also to Frau Brown's classes, and we advertised it just to prepare students and parents for the travel, so they can start thinking about saving the money. A lot of students also work. I had students who have worked during the summer or throughout the year so that they can collect the money that it would be their spending money for Germany. So they know far in advance as far as the financial situation. This year there is a girl who wanted to go last school year, and then she said she will have to wait until next year, one, because she was a ninth grader, two, because she wanted to work and collect some more money so she can spend more money in Germany. So,
Any other examples of persons in that category? In other words, I guess what I'm wanting to make sure, however many persons were able to go last year, those persons who, were there any persons beyond that one that identified that they couldn't go because they didn't have the resources?
Last year, I can't think of anybody.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, go. You can go.
We don't have anything currently in place in terms of like a scholarship. The program is still fairly new, but we would certainly like to do something like that.
Yeah,
And
we're
open
happy,
to suggestions.
Have any
We're not
help,
quite sure how to
yes.
go about that, but that would be a great idea.
Yeah, we do have a little grant that covers the students' cost for tickets to museums. We do fundraiser also that helps with the field trips that we organize, and so we try our best on our own. But yes, like Frau Brown says, it would be great to have some kind of scholarship or help from also.
And the fundraising as well
Yeah.
that we did in the first travel.
Yeah.
Say thank you all for putting it together, because I know doing the itinerary and making all the plans takes time, and also just the responsibility of doing that and being willing to take that on. Yeah, it's great.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Oh, one more. So how many EC Glass and Heritage students are there that are going?
How many are going? We have 7 from EC Glass and 3 from Heritage going. Yeah. And last school year it was more from Heritage and less from EC Glass. And,
And the program has grown a little each year.
Yes.
So we hope it will continue to grow.
Do we have any other programs like this as it relates to foreign travel, international travel?
What do we have going on now?
There's likely another one that would be coming to the board with, I believe, is Spain. This is the only one that has sort of the ongoing component that is also affiliated with a larger partnership group. That's the only other one I'm aware of right now.
Mercy Care, is that?
The Africa trip, are we still involved in that?
Yeah,
I know we have an awareness program and we raise money for that. I don't know whether we send kids to Africa though.
We did at one point in time.
Don't think they still do.
Okay.
Maybe.
Ms. Carter? And just going back to their question, how can they get some scholarship funds or monies for students who may just have decided, well, I can't afford to go, and may not even ask, or may just have just dismissed it, thinking that there is no monies? What's the process for them to try to tap into a resource?
I mean, let's be honest, and I am going to be honest, that as we put an equity lens on international travel, it's an amazing opportunity. It's a life-changing opportunity for kids. Are we in a position to provide this for every kid that wants it? No, we're not. And we've got to figure out ways, working, I think, with our community and private sector folks to create this opportunity for as many kids that want it. We push foreign language in our advanced diploma in Virginia. It requires either 3 years of one foreign language or 2 years of 2 foreign language. Correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. McLean. So this is a great way to take that knowledge and go in depth. We've got to figure out a way to make it accessible to any kid that wants it. It's not a very simple solution. I think what we've got to do is become more aggressive in figuring out a way to work with our community and folks in our community of various backgrounds who've had international travel and benefited from it to see that this would be something to invest in our kids to be able to go. It's still an area of growth for us.
I'm really proud of the two students. I could feel what you were sharing. That's going to change your life, has changed your life forever. You'll be able to share that with your kids. It's just great. And we have to also remember that many people, regardless of what race they are or gender, that have never even traveled outside of the city of Lynchburg. You have that in New York, people who've never traveled out of their barrel. So when you give a kid an opportunity to have that kind of exposure and cultural impact, it's huge. So I commend this program and our further investigation to how we can continue to provide other pieces. I did not know about the Africa piece. That is intriguing.
Well, thank you. This will come back to us for action at our next meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, item G2, request for budget reallocation. That, Mr. Beckles.
Good evening. Before you have a request, I've listed items for us to reallocate $326,500 from our existing budget to allow us to do purchase in some cases or make adjustments, one-time adjustments with existing funds. This request does not in any which way increase our existing budget. It only is asking for us to reallocate funds from particular accounts in our existing budget to accounts that will allow us to purchase or address these items listed on this request. I would just point out there was two words I forgot on the last request. This is purchase pre-K registration materials. It's and stipends to assist with the registration of the pre-K process. So I just wanted to add that word. I didn't want it to mislead you. There's only materials and stipends to help with the pre-K registration process. The items greater than 10,000, I provided a small explanation sheet for those individual items. If you have any questions on any of the other items, feel free to ask. I think I can answer most of the questions that you may have on the list.
Dr. Mill?
Could you go into a little bit of detail on the IT salary budget, and is that just number of people, or is that just that budget was just underestimated, or what?
The way the budget is prepared, I prepared a budget based on an average salary of, the existing salary people are there. Sometimes people leave. And there's sometimes when the replacement is higher than either the previous one, and normally that would cause a budget difference. And in this case, the difference was higher than what we had budgeted for. And we had a couple of changes in IT as far as personnel is concerned. So at the end of the day, the result is...
is this like a combination of 2 people or 5 people?
That's
or?
correct. It's a combination of all of the changes. That's correct.
So how many people impacted this?
1, 2, 3, if I remember correctly. I think it's 3 people changed it.
Okay, thank you.
Assisting with the cost of the Partners in Education breakfast, is that something we normally do? Because I thought they...
We normally do that. On this particular one, the budget that they were given, they didn't tell me till later, hey, this is not going to be enough. So I have to adjust it now. But no, we normally do that.
What about tables, in other events like breakfast with the superintendent, you get corporate sponsors, table sponsors,
This is
etc.
net of those.
What?
This is net of the contribution.
No.
I still see a look that...
It just seems like a lot to me. Me too. Because people pay for tickets to go also, so I guess I'm curious about where the money... What is the money used for?
The money for that program is used for 2 purposes. One is to, do the things that PI does, the programming, and then we have the meal portion of all what I call the expense portion of it. We assist with the expense portion of it. the majority of the money they get from those programs goes to help fund that program. So it doesn't cover everything. For example, I guess I'll leave this there.
I'll have to go back, Anthony. I think one of the things the board is asking, in the Breakfast with the Superintendent by the Ed Foundation, each table is a purchase. When we do Partners in Ed, does each business come when we recognize them for the service? Do they pay for the tables the way they do in the Ed Foundation?
Partners in Ed doesn't cover all of its operating expenses.
Okay. So there is a charge, but it doesn't cover the cost to use the Lynchburg College facility.
Now, what we may want to do going forward is work towards that.
I was satisfied with the explanation of the Finance Committee. Is there a need for a motion?
This will come back to us in our next
Okay.
meeting. Any other questions? Is there any objection to putting this on our consent agenda? How about we'll go back to the travel. Is there any, put that on the consent agenda as well? All right. We will move on to capital improvement plan for Fort Hill Community School. Mr. Copeland.
Good evening. We recently opened a bid to replace the windows at the Fort Hill Community School. The two bidders you can see on the agenda item. And if you've seen the windows, those are the original windows to the building. I don't know how many of them actually open, but they're in desperate need of replacement, just like a lot of our old windows. The funding for this is actually contained within some things that we did within fund balance. So this is a quick turnaround on fund balance money to try to get this done over this next summer. The next window replacement work will be actually Dunbar Middle School. So I'll gladly answer any questions you might have. It will come back to you as a recommendation to award to Appomattox Glass for that amount.
Put this on the consent agenda. All righty. Well, that takes us to Superintendent's comments. Dr. Brobrand.
Thank you, Ms. Haas. I want to share that Friday is the last of our professional development days. It will be an early release. And we're looking forward to the professional development we have provided for our teachers. Many of them will be working with PBIS, our positive behavior and intervention supports. We'll also be doing with our middle and high school teachers small group instruction, more support around small group instruction, which we know increases student engagement, and a lot of the research shows greater student outcomes. And that is a switch from a more traditional whole group that we have seen more in our middle and high schools. It's also around this time now, we've opened our spring LCS benchmark assessments. These are assessments that help students get ready to cover content that is SOL related, and it sort of gives them a mini version of the SOL test so they can get feedback on how they performed, and more importantly, it gives our teachers feedback on how students are doing so they can help determine what the remaining couple of months look like in terms of both new instruction, but also spiraling back to get key standards that kids might still be struggling with. And while we're talking about SOLs, our SOL writing test begins next week for both our 8th graders and this year our 10th graders. You may recall last year in writing we shifted from 11th to 10th grade, but because of that shift we had to do it for both groups of kids. This year we'll be focused only on our 10th graders, and they've been working intently on writing all year, and we're looking forward to positive outcomes there. I think we mentioned the Education Foundation breakfast just a moment ago as we were talking about breakfasts, and that breakfast is March 10th. It's coming up next week. We're very excited about the topic. It's the new Heritage High School, Pioneers in the Future of Education. We're very excited about our keynote speaker, and that will be the one and only Mr. Copeland, who will be presenting a very, very dynamic presentation. I've had a sneak peek, and I know you and the community and all those that are coming will not be disappointed. One of the other things to share, and actually Mr. Copeland brought you, and we brought you together, recognition around the Aspiring Administrators Program, trying to get folks who are catching rising stars who want to go into leadership. And you got to meet some of them just a few months ago. Well, our next cohort is starting on Thursday. So we'll start to work on continuing to build, like we need to build pipelines for getting teachers in our schools. We need to build pipelines to having leaders in our schools. And I appreciate Mr. Copeland's effort to restart that leadership pipeline that we did not have, and we'll let you see the cohort by next fall after they go through their program. I also want to let you know that after action by the Board of Education earlier this week, all of our schools are now fully or partially accredited. And the state board has agreed that all of our schools are on a trajectory toward full accreditation. So that is very positive news. We still have work to do. But now Sandusky Middle School, Heritage Elementary, and Dunbar received those final partial accreditation designations. And we're looking forward to continued success this spring as we had last spring.
More comments? Ms. Snyder?
I got to go to 4 different schools during intersession this past week, and I went to, one of the stops was Desi, and I had a student who came up to me and thanked us for intersession and said he actually was begging to go. He wanted to go because it was fun. So, and they were knee-deep in making salt maps of Virginia, and it was messy, and I asked if that was something they would normally get to do in their classes, and they said no, it wasn't. So it was just an opportunity. I also went to Hutcherson Early Learning Center, and this was the first time they had done an intersession, and they were able to talk to the principal, and they were able to offer education and opportunity. The students were going to Fresh Market to learn all about grocery shopping and healthy choices, and they each had $1 to spend, and they were very, very excited about that. We got to go to the State of the City address and hear the exiting mayor talk about our great schools, and hope we continue our support and partnerships with the city. And last week I got to go to Suzuki Fest and see hundreds of students perform Twinkle Twinkle Little Star all at one time. And it's loud and it's wonderful, and it's great to see the students starting out young and then going up and continuing, because music is very, very important. Thanks.
Ms. Carter?
As thinking about Michaela Warwick and the GPA, and it says maintain an average GPA of 3.7. So how would our change in the GPA impact this?
I don't see anything in the scholarship materials, and Dr. McLean can elaborate, that is going to exclude kids for these kind of scholarships. The GPA is already going to need to be at a high level, but you can see even for these that are full rides to an Ivy League institution, it's set below a 4.0. We talked with the new GPA proposal, the change would be a couple of points from like a 4.8 to a 4.6 in the one scenario that you shared. So I don't see an impact on scholarship criteria excluding any of our kids. But I certainly understand the concern from hearing Michaela's. I don't know, Dr. McLean, is there anything else you would add to that?
Yeah, it depends if the scholarship is based on their entire high school set of credits or just a particular year, but it was 4.62, I think, was the max for a junior year, as an example, and if you took it from all the courses throughout, it got to a max of something like a 4.51 or 2. And I did note also she talked about the importance of drama and music and those pieces, which also is a piece of what we were trying to put within that GPA proposal, is also honoring those elements.
In a tweak that way, Michaela would have a higher GPA if she, and I don't know, I haven't looked at her transcript, but if she took those drama, she'd have a higher class rank. I'm correct in saying that, right?
We'd have to look at that. Yeah.
She would not be, if she was carrying a full load of AP courses and wanted to take that drama or art, before she would have lost in class rank. Our new GPA calculation allows her to continue to take rigorous courses as she was, but also pursue passions around art and music and not see that impact her class rank. So in that case, I think there's an example of a student who would benefit even more under the formula, even though I don't have the transcripts in front of me, but I believe that it would.
And I know we can't discuss all of the particulars regarding the incident that happened at Dunbar on Friday, but some things that really just stuck out that some of the people from the public talked about is, well, one question is, did other teachers leave? Do we know that? Were there any other teachers that left, or can we not discuss that?
I don't know that I'm at liberty to discuss a personnel matter. I don't believe that I am. I will say I appreciated that the community came out tonight, and I understand that trust is important in the community, across all aspects of the community, and I'm going to continue to work hard to do, across all the decisions I make, what's best for schools, the staff, and the school system.
Coleman next. Then
I just wanted to address what you had just asked in my experience on the board, and especially in recent years, is that we've received advice from the city attorney that the board receives limited information until a full investigation is done, because something might come to the board, and by receiving limited information up front, we are less likely to be influenced by one side of the story. So I would expect that if this does come to the board, we will get full details. And if this personnel-wise does not come to the board formally, I would like to request that we have a closed session meeting to debrief the board regarding the personnel matters that wouldn't have come if it's determined that it won't come to us.
Dr. Coleman.
Dr. Dolan Sewell, reflection here. Veteran brilliance, one more time. Thank you for your response to that very important question. I want to just say I did attend the intercessions to the best that I could at Dunbar, at Payne, and EC Glass. And I did hear a conversation around some concerns that the monies are being paid out for this program, and that maybe the numbers could be a little higher. And really good stuff I saw going on. Some of the people were commending their staff persons, and I do not have those names with me, but I do commend them, and will be more specific with the names later. But it was an interesting experience going to be a part of that. That's a good program, but we may need to look at how we can encourage greater levels of participation. Did attend the finance meeting, and the chair did a fine job of leading us through that, and chief financial officer. And the equity task force meeting was a very powerful meeting here at the school administration building, and it appears that the members of that task force are prepared to do what we need to do to help the division get better. I do want to underscore the fact that it's going to be very important. Once again, I think we commended the school administration for putting a director in place, but we have got to make sure that everybody in the community, some of the things we were talking about earlier, like helping with the international students, these are things that the community can help with, Ed Foundation, whatever. But we got to be more aggressive in this, and we've got to make sure that people who are going to be on these things will show up, they give their support, it's not just in name only, and that we're intentional about figuring out how we make everything better for all of our students. And so it's some real strong stuff going on with that, and I commend Dr. Braybrand and Dr. McLean for their presence. The Parks and Rec person was here, and some real healthy discussion. But we're looking at the needle. The needle has got to be moved. Now, I do want to say that a lot of what's going on Last year at the State of the City, the mayor was very emphatic. This year at the State of the City, I attended that, was very good. And I do want to say our outgoing vice mayor is here tonight, and we want to commend you, sir, for your strong message that you gave at the State of the City, as well as Mayor Gillette. And we are just grateful for the fact that a good, healthy partnership between council and the school board is being developed. And I know we're going to talk about maybe getting together at another point because that equity issue was important. I close by saying this around professional development. We talk about PBS for our students. After tonight, it looks like, in a way that can be discussed later, that we need some PBIS around our teachers. I'm interested in this quote here by Queen Elizabeth. Queen Elizabeth said at one point to some people who had concerns, "The dog can bark, but not to bite." I think that some people came down here and barked tonight. But it's good to see people come, whatever they got to say. 10 people came tonight, 1 dealing with GPA, the other dealing with a thought of failing schools, and 8 dealing with the Dunbar issue. But I certainly hope that as we engage our public, that the public doesn't think that all we want them to do is bark and never have a real, honest development of the issues that are being presented. Thank you, Madam Chair, for all the fine work that you do.
Ms. Waller. I'm so excited to report that I did go to the intercessions. In fact, I divided up with Katie, and then guess what? I went to some that she went to.
She beat me too, and I went 9 in the morning.
But I do want to tell you why I did it. I went to one school, and the principal said, "I told them I knew that you would come." Now, don't you know that gave me motivation to run to all of them? I mean, I was scared somebody was looking for me and I didn't show up. I mean, I had to be there. But I didn't make it but to 10, but this time. But you all, and it was nice seeing the work that's going on. I mean, it really is, and it's a lot of work that has to be done, but it's a start, and that's important. And then I would just like to say to the board, April the 20th, have you seen this on your email? April the 20th is when we have our Southern Region Spring meeting, and it's at Bedford, at Jefferson Forest. So let's try to go. That's when we have the art, the art exhibit. We got the art work, whoever's in charge of getting that, and we'll get it there, and hopefully our students will win, and, we want everybody to win. But anyhow, I just, I want to push this a little bit because it's right in our backyard, and if we can go. That's all I have to say.
All right, I have a couple things. One, I do want to echo Dr. Coleman's sentiments on the attendance at intercession. And I was only able to get to R.S. Payne, but what was going on was great, but there were just so few students in some of the grade levels that I just thought, I know we've got more kids that would benefit from this. We do need to find a way to get more of our children there. And then the other is a point of business. The administration has informed me that they are in the process of wrapping up their work on the discipline policy and ready to bring that to us in April. And I guess feel like maybe because it is 200 pages and very detailed, that perhaps a couple of work sessions would be our best way to go about tackling that, at least initially. So unless someone has some strong objection to that, I will ask the board clerk to send us a couple of dates in April. Maybe we'll be able to knock it out in one, but I think we should possibly plan for 2 work sessions, evening work sessions.
Evening, I was trying to say, are we talking about full day or half day or?
I think you kind of mentioned maybe a 5:30 to 8:30.
Okay.
Maybe we'll start with that.
Keep the same time. We could do it a little bit earlier. We could keep the same time. Just do.
Just trying to get a
time of a
mental
5:30 to 8:30 and see if we can get it done in one.
Does that sound okay? All right. All right. We'll look for that email then this week, but with some possible dates. And if there's nothing else, then we're adjourned. Thank you.